I'd love to know what you are seeing when you play guitar. Are you navigating through 7 scale shapes, each of them representing a mode?
The thing about the way that I see the guitar, I've explained it to people before, and it's funny because they're like, wow, I never looked at it that way. And when they do understand the way that I'm looking at it, they see it as being a very convenient way to make stuff easier to maneuver. So I look at it as 3 sets of 2 strings. Now there's subsets we could get into, but if you look at 3 sets of 2 strings, that means everything you could play on one set of strings is identical to the next set of strings, but it's divided by the octave. So it makes it so that you have less things for you to have to memorize for what your fingers do. So for example, there's only 5 shapes in the pentatonic scale that you would ever be playing. And if you learn those 5 shapes and you know where they are on one set of strings, they're identical on the next set of strings and the next set of strings, except that they're divided by the octave. So you wouldn't be able to just go linear up and down. You have to be like, okay, here's the first octave, here's the second octave, here's the third octave. But if you're doing just a symmetrical shape, this to this, and it moves, your brain starts to go, oh, these are just fragments of the same thing. And you can put your fingers in new positions, and it makes it easier. And when you realize that any scale that you're ever going to play is already going to have those 5 shapes in it, plus 1 or 2 other different things where you might have a half step here, or possibly, you almost never have anything bigger than a minor third stretch for most scale things. It's going to be a half step, a whole step, or a minor third, and all that exists. And if you're able to see it that way, you start seeing the neck diagonally and across the strings. And once you start to know where the unison notes are, that also helps. Like knowing your unisons and your octaves is probably the key to maneuvering the neck.
I'm just on a personal. I'm loving getting a guitar lesson from Dweezil Zappa. On a 15-year-old Rob Chapman would be shitting himself right now. This is absolutely mad. I'm really encouraged because what you're describing is similar to what I see. But I have a question: Are you tuning standard or fourths?
Standard.
Because I'm the same, seeing the shapes and I'm seeing intervals, but then the tuning skip throws it for me.
You mean between the B string and the G string? Yeah. So, but that one is, as long as you know that it has to shift, it can't be symmetrical on those string sets right there. That's where I would say, that the subsets of strings would be the B string and the G string, and then you have the B string and the A string. The D string and the A string are going to act the same as the other sets of strings. It's only the shift that you have on the B string and the G string where something, the B string always is a half step higher than what the G string is going to be. So
that's interesting. It's interesting to me that you never, or as far as I know, never considered moving to fourths. I mean, I'm not playing in fourths, but the mindset of these very few, there's only, effectively 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 shapes that on a string.
Right.
And then it's the same if it's in fourths. I toyed with that when I discovered that you could tune it that way, but I was thinking, because of the way you were approaching it, visualizing it that way, that you might have been tempted to do that.
Well, I know Tom Quayle does that.
That's why I was thinking about it.
Yeah. But I was already entrenched in the way that I've been seeing it for years. I didn't necessarily see a reason to have to move to that. It would have kind of made chords get confusing for me. Like, I don't really adjust well to open tunings and other things. I will play in them, but I won't be able to see the neck at all the same way. I see them in limited areas that I get familiar with,
Right, I see. Yeah, the vision is gone because you spent so long. And I understand the chord thing, because that's the reason I didn't tune to fourths. I remember Tom going, yeah, just tune it all fourths, and everything is just symmetrical. And then I went to play a D chord and went, oh, wait a minute. If I can't just rock out on a D or an A, it's going to be super strange.
Yeah.
Yeah. So look, you obviously, you've been massively influenced by your dad and by some incredible guitar players. But I'm interested in your non-guitar playing musical influences.
Well, I like all kinds of different music, you know, so from folk music to classical music to whatever. I'm kind of, if somebody's good at what they do and it's in any category of music, I'll be interested in it, you know, but it has to be something that I recognize as, oh, that person put the time in and they're doing something cool and their voice is actually coming through in what they're doing. You know, so I can appreciate that in whatever style of music it is. And I think most people can, because music is universal in that way. You can hear something you've never heard before and become an instant fan of something, because music is just cool that way. But I feel like, some of the things I try to incorporate in my playing that become interesting to me are coming from things that are not traditional. So like I like Indian music and Arabic music, and I like to try to put some of the bending or sliding or microtonal things in, so that I can still play a bluesy thing. But I look at it more like, if you have an accent and you're speaking to somebody, people can still understand you, right? But they know that you're coming from somewhere else. So if I'm playing a bluesy guitar solo and I put some Indian bends in it, it's like, oh, well, like we're still speaking the same language, but you've got a twist on it. You know, it's that kind of thing. It's like with an accent. So that's kind of how I look at some of these things, but it does require getting some different techniques under your fingers to do some of the weirdo slidey things that I like to try to do these days. But, you know, one example would be like, you know, if you picked up your guitar and you put your finger on the G string at the 7th fret, and then you said, all right, I need to replace my 3rd finger with my 1st finger from the 5th fret to the 7th fret, you would just slide and you would just keep like this game of like, let me replace my 3rd finger with my 1st finger. And anything that you do, any combination of notes, now move that idea around the neck, keep replacing that one finger with the other, and you slide and you create new sounds from doing this finger replacement exercise. And it's a cool sound that you can start to incorporate in all kinds of different places. But I also like to bend from the wrong note into the right note.
Why not?
Because that's an interesting sound to me. And so what that does too is it allows you to start being more adventurous, because if you purposely start in a place that you know is wrong and then you find the right note, you're using your ear to tell you when it's right. And now if you ever find yourself in a place where you landed on a note that you don't like, you're only ever a half step away from a note that would be a chord tone or a resolution that the audience would go, oh, okay, I understand what's happening.